A lot of you asked me how I'm running Stalker Anomaly without a reshade, while looking like this. Most of the graphics that you see is from Zona itself, but I am using a little secret tool that every one of you has right now. This method that I'm going to show you works with any mod pack and even Stalker Anomaly. Just make sure that you got the latest modded EXE files. Okay stalkers, take a deep breath because I'm going to show you this hidden mechanic in Stalker Anomaly. Some time ago I discovered this hidden option inside the modded DLTX EXE file settings, an HDR option. Now many of you will probably say, HDR is only for HDR monitors, right? Well, yes and no, because this HDR from the modded EXE files has a ton of options. Also use color correction for each type of monitor, even if your monitor has just basic colors. Before we start, we have to take a few steps. First, we need to make sure that we are in debug mode. We want to test this with many different weather presents, so that we can see how dark or bright the picture gets. So load the game and start a new game. I like to go to Meadow to set my graphics. Make sure it's not in story mode so it lets you go there. Before we turn on the HDR option, you need to make sure that your brightness, your gamma and your color saturation are set to 1 from the visual options. This is because you want to have a nice baseline of normal settings. Once you set these settings, go to Settings and then find Modded EXE Settings. Then click on Visuals and HDR 10. You will see this option, Enable HDR. Once you enable it, save the game and restart the game to take effect. When you load the game back, your main menu might look a little bit bright. This is unfortunately one of the few drawbacks that this method has. Load the game back to your last save in Meadow. Your game will look really strange, but don't worry, this is normal. The default settings are way too aggressive for those of you who don't own an HDR monitor. Set the weather from the debug menu to clear 1, present in the morning. This will allow you to judge the colors and brightness that we are going to change. Now let's go back to the HDR settings. Now you will see this new option called Setup. This is a similar option to the normal saturation, gamma, brightness setting from Stalker Anomaly, but this one is just for the HDR settings. The first option, we are going to lower the white points or the nits, which is the first option. You can go between 80 to 150 depending on how aggressive you want the HDR to look. Lowering this alone already makes a huge difference. Then we also have UI brightness, set this to 100. And PDA intensity, set it to 50. Make sure that the color space is set to REC 2020 and the tone mapper set to Reinhard 2. And you can also use Reinhard LW3. The tone mapper has two options, luminescence and color. But what are the differences between these two options? Luminescence prioritizes the structural detail and brightness level of the image, while color prioritizes chrominance, color accuracy and depth over the raw brightness. I personally like to use the luminescence option, but I will leave this option up to you. Now we have a few more options which are very similar to what we have in the regular visual options in Stalker Anomaly. I'm sure that many of you have set your visual saturation sliders to high, but this one from HDR has a lot more options, and it allows you to refine the settings little by little. So we're going to set the exposure to 1.2 and then we're going to lower the gamma to 1.02. Then lower the middle gray between 0.35 or 0.5. This will affect your grays and white colors. You can also lower or increase the HDR saturation, which is the color of the picture, and it is a lot less sensitive than the saturation option from the visual options, which allows you to be a lot more precise with the look that you want. I'm going to leave this option to you. Some people like their game to look colorful and some like it less colorful. The choice is up to you, but you can see that the option allows you to tune these options to the point of 0.0 of a decimal, which is a lot more accurate than the regular visual options for Stalker Anomaly. There is also bloom and lens effects, but I don't really use them. With SSS23 you already have enough effects to play with, and this method also works if you don't have any graphical mods installed in your game. Once you finish, you want to test this in different weather presence like rain or storms to see how it looks, and also you want to test this during the nights to see how dark or bright it is. Feel free to tweak everything to your taste: saturation, exposure, and brightness. Those are all total preferences that you guys can set. There's no need to match my exact settings. Some pros and cons of using this method. Let's start from the pros first. No performance hits, unlike when you are using a Reshade. A Reshade can be quite heavy, especially when you apply a lot of effects. You can turn this option on and off, and you don't need to uninstall or reinstall anything, and it's part of the game and can be applied on any kind of monitor, even if you have an old monitor with basic colors. And the cons are: your main menu is going to look bright, and it doesn't have a huge amount of effects and options like Reshade does. And if you are a content creator like me that uses OBS, it will have a small issue that can be fixed. When you open OBS and you look at the preview picture, you will notice that the colors are way off. Don't worry, there's also a quick fix for this. Open your OBS Studio and in your sources select your Stalker Anomaly source that you have. Right click on it and then go to filters. From here you can press the plus button and add HDR toning mapping override. Make sure you're using SDR max RGB mode and set the max input nits to 400 and the max output nits to 100. This is going to allow your OBS to capture the whole HDR colors without any issues. Hope that you find this method useful. Make sure to subscribe and like, and feel free to ask any questions about Stalker Anomaly modding or about Zona down here in the comments. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time.